like to call to order the Thursday, September 21st, 2023 Watertown Plan Commission meeting. Can we get a roll call?
Yes. Case.
Here.
Oletsky.
Present.
Brink.
Here.
Dolly.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Dargis Johnson.
Here.
Spire.
Here.
And Hanson and Culhane are absent. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Brandy. Third item on the agenda is invitation for public comment participant submittal. If you'd like to speak on something not on the agenda, just let Brandy know. We'll have time for that at the end of the meeting. Moving on to item 4 is the approval of the agenda. I'll need a motion.
Second.
Motion by Case, second by Brink. Any discussion on the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carry forward with the agenda. Item 5 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the September 7th, 2023 meeting. We'll need a motion on that.
Ford moves.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any additional discussion on those minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Commissioner Kays has abstained. That motion carries. Moving on to item 6A on the regular agenda is resolution number 2023-32, which is amendment to the zoning designation. I'll hand it over to you, Brandy.
Okay, thank you, Blake. So this is a rezone petition from J&J Land Sales LLC. This is over in the Lakes of Willow Creek First Edition area. GIS is loading here, so I'll show you guys from this map. For proximity, the ice arena is being constructed in this location. And then this property here, Lot 3 of Stromseth East Side Edition, is currently zoned I-1 light industrial. So, and actually, this entire area was previously zoned I-1 light industrial until it was recently rezoned to C3 highway commercial. So what we're doing here is just extending the I-1 light industrial designation into the C3 designation, 145 feet into Lot 2. And that lot alone would meet the minimum lot size requirements in the frontage. And then this sliver that will be left will be platted, replatted into Lot 3. But this will actually be combined with the existing lot that is zoned I-1. So with that, I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Brandy. This item does have a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing at this time. Is there anybody in the public to speak on behalf or against? Is there questions from the commissioners?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Community Develop Manager Hanton.
Go
I'm
on.
just so curious on your background information. This sentence, the concept plan was approved with the zoning for this lot as C3 highway. However, a rezone can be applied for without updating the concept plan, as a rezone is allowed per state statute. I don't ever remember seeing this comment in here before, so I'm curious what precipitated that.
So I wanted to just clarify, just because I included the concept plan just for complete transparency, and I just wanted to explain why the concept plan doesn't have to be reapproved or updated to reflect the zoning, because a rezone is a typical process that is outlined in statute. So you would never, everybody has the right to petition to rezone a property, and then it would not trigger the concept plan being updated per our ordinance. So it was really just more information. Being that we just recently saw the concept plan.
And the concept plan again, it's just a concept. I mean, we're not saying that you have to plat something in accordance with the concept plan. And if I decided I'd change my mind, it would be different if I'm saying we had a concept plan that this was all going to be a residential development, and all of a sudden now we're going to go industrial. That would be maybe a bridge too far.
Yep. And I think through the process that would end up, that would say, and two, you'd be increasing density, you'd be changing streets, you'd be doing things that would be a major change that would trigger the concept plan being amended.
Yeah, and with the changes that we had around the ordinance and concept plans in general, we had some language in there about major changes to the concept and how that could get brought back. But in
Yep.
this case, changing the zoning has a defined process already explicitly.
Yep.
So I just want to clarify, the lot that's being proposed is be zoned I-1, that's going to be incorporated into the larger lot, it's going to be a standalone lot.
It will be incorporated, but it could be a standalone lot. It has sufficient size, but
So will that get replatted then as a single lot?
no, the plan is that it will be replatted into this existing lot here, and then this sliver will be replatted into this existing lot at the same time. So it'll come together as one plat.
Okay.
Yep.
So Brandy, the Stromseth Drive, that wasn't a part of the original PUD, right? That's outside of the PUD?
This is not a PUD.
Right, I understand. So this new proposed designation was originally part of the plan design, right? And potentially added to what was not a part of the original plan design?
Oh, so the concept plan, yeah, this lot 2 is currently zoned C3. So then that's why we're petitioning the rezone from C3 to I1, and it is different than what the concept plan showed,
Different from the concept plan, okay.
but does conform to the comprehensive land use plan for the mixed use in this area.
Mr. Chair, is there anything on that property right now that's currently zoned industrial? Is it bare ground?
Oh, on this portion that's being rezoned?
No, that's currently zoned industrial.
Yep, that is an existing business. That is industrial in
Is
nature.
that the old county stuff that got brought in? What business is that?
Do you want to speak to that?
If you could
Okay.
come up and just state your name for the record, we'll get this recording.
I don't know what you got all going on.
I'm Kurt Lavacek. That
I can pull it up
Stromseth
on here.
property there is our property. I'd had industrial sewer company there called Pipe Masters, and 3.5 years ago, HydroClean came in and bought us out, and so that is the business that is there. So it still remains as an industrial sewer company. I don't know, do I need to explain why I
No.
want to do this?
No. I was just trying to get, Kurt, I was just trying to get a reference to where the property was. I know, now I know where I'm at. I know where, that's all I was trying to, without the picture, sometimes we're so used to pictures anymore.
Thank you, Mr. Lavacek. Is there any other questions for?
Necessarily, but-
No.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You can.
Well, I can explain now why we're trying to do this. So the property there with the brown rooftop there is all state Peterbilt. They came in and before this was, I think, I'm not saying I know it's 100%, but they built that building before it was all platted out and all that. Well, on that very end where the arrow is, that is their only drive-in portion to get into that building with a tractor-trailer combo. They've got doors coming in from the south that they can pull in with just a tractor to do their repairs, a semi-tractor, but not tractor-trailer. They can't get them in there. So the only way they can get into that building is over by where, point at those semi-trailers right there. Only way they can get into that building is they got to, and you can even see the pattern there a little bit. They got to pull clear over almost to our cement pad to get into those doors. And so I want to be a friendly neighbor. As I've talked to the city of Watertown at City Hall already, I want to be a friendly neighbor and try to work with them, but I don't feel I should reserve the right that just, hey, it's a free-for-all, just use it. So what I'm trying to do is coming up with a good way with J&J and Nathan Hendricks and saying that we're going to give you 145 feet over here, but then I want 145 feet over on the other side. And being as I'm losing I-1, I want to get I-1 back. And that's why we're doing it. And then I'll have, the rest of it is
That makes sense.
what I'm
And-
doing, but
And this will remain in your ownership, right? It'll be an easement?
We're gonna sell them the land, the 145 feet on the east side, so from my semi-trailers, that cement there, over to basically the blue line on the west side,
Okay.
that area right there, they're gonna own that, but I'm gonna have a lifetime easement of that to utilize our building, and plus get that land on the other side.
Okay, so my biggest thing is just if it does get conveyed to them other than by easement, then we'd have to rezone that portion too. So it could be something that the plan commission would see again. However, the details work out.
Isn't Allstate Peterbilt already I-1?
No, they're C3.
C3.
Oh, they are?
Yep.
Okay.
So, and we can discuss that out of this meeting too, but it just might, I was under the impression it would be by easement. So if that is not the case, a rezone for the C3 will come forward. But I'll talk to you about that offline.
In either case, yeah, I think it makes sense what you're trying to accomplish here.
It does make sense, and if it does include that property, a replat including them might be appropriate too, but again, that's further down the road.
Yeah.
So so I believe what we're saying is, we're not going to end up with any more I-1 property here, area-wise. It's just going to be
Shift the boundaries.
shifted and sold and then rezoned, that sliver on the left. All right, so the amount of I-1 property here stays the same if it goes forward as we've just heard.
Yep. And even if it doesn't, say that it stays in his ownership and they do an easement, it will still, like, you are really, it's a net, there's no net gain or loss in it because one will not be used industrial really, other than for the access for the adjacent for Peterbilt. And then the additional I-1 property, then that just replaces it.
Because if it were an access easement, you have to keep that open for access as an easement.
Yeah.
And also, maybe this is beneficial to you guys, maybe it isn't, but our lawyer will be writing up all the details on that. In the provisions of that being an easement, one of the things that we're putting in there is that they're never to build on there in the lifetime of that white building, Pipe Master building being there. So that part that we're given to Allstate Peterbilt, that will never be able to build on. So just solely used for driving on, or parking trucks or whatever for them. So basically, it's gonna give them a bigger parking lot, and it's going to allow them to be able to drive into their building. And I guess so.
If I could ask one more question, so why do you need this parcel to be changed to why can't it stay
Well-
C3?
In my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if I have I-1, it's always easier as that area out there grows and develops. I-1 is more of a value. I would think it'd be easier to downgrade to C3 than to upgrade. So I'm just asking for my equal, what I've already got back.
Before it's fully developed, so
Yeah.
it's a known thing, because he has the net area of the
Everybody
same.
knows, everybody's going into it with eyes wide open.
Yeah, I'm just,
And he can't have split zoning on a lot, because he'll put them as one lot. So he can't keep, he has to have one zoning designation.
And we want the single lot there anyway. We want it platted for conveyance purposes anyhow.
Yeah, and really, it could be a standalone lot, but it's really just because he's trying to regain what he's losing of the current lot. And not losing, because I think it's great that they were able to work out a deal like that.
With the adjustment here, if that does get rezoned, the city would be the immediate adjacent landowner across the street. Is it fair to ask what the municipality's position is on the, the industrial light immediately across from the hockey rink?
No opposition. It's what the comprehensive land use plan shows. And it's already adjacent, the existing building. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we put together that last update of the comprehensive land use plan, we looked at the fact that there was some existing businesses in that area and that they would likely continue in some perpetuity.
I just want to make sure, because that, is Strong Stuff, is that incorporated, or is that in the county or municipality?
I don't know what's
Private.
going on with this computer, but, because it keeps blacking out on my end, I don't think it is on the projector, but, so up here, these two lots, yeah, mine's blacking out, but, all right. So I'll look up here and do it. So these two lots are still in the county. The lot that Kurt owns is in the city limits,
Okay.
zoned I-1.
Yeah, and those two lots up there are currently zoned industrial in the county and in the joint jurisdiction area. But there won't be much of anything occurring new on those without annexation. That's one of the reasons we have joint jurisdiction today is
Watch
that existing development.
Do you know why it's doing that? Okay, but you saw what it was doing.
Any other
Okay.
questions from
I
the
just
board
wanted-
members? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Anybody else in the public? Anybody online with Teams? All right, I'll close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mr. Brink,
Second that motion?
second by Oletsky. Any additional discussion?
I just have a question. I guess I don't know if there's an advantage to the city doing this. I'm just throwing that out there. I don't know that, where we're trying to put a ice arena there, if I-1 is really ideal anyway. If we got commercial all the way around it, I don't know. I just struggle with it a little bit, like we end up with Fourth Avenue Southwest over there, kind of the same situation where we got, we had a gymnastics place that wanted to be in there, and we've got industrial. I personally always kind of thought maybe the industrial would go away. So it's, I know they're existing and they're there. I don't know that there's an advantage to us, to the city of Watertown per se, that we change the zoning on that, that it's a positive instead of a negative.
So the ice arena is configured where the entrance is towards the southwest. So this will really be, this is where we'll have like the refuse and whatnot. This will be the backside. So, and these are very large lots that, really, I'm not sure how much like retail traffic would be there. That's gonna be more to the south. So I think that, and industrial too, I was gonna pull up the permitted uses, where industrial really, any of the intrusive uses are as conditional uses of what would be,
But you can also put a motel or a restaurant in an industrial zone. You can also put a restaurant or a hotel in an industrial zone, can't you, as a conditional use?
yeah.
So just because it's zoned industrial doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna have smokestacks and lightning out there.
And you'd have to be zoned I-2 to have that.
Right.
I think the market demand out there over a longer period of time is ultimately going to dictate how that continues to develop.
HydroClean is not gonna be there in 20 years. There's gonna be other commercial development pressures.
You don't know that, you don't know if HydroClean,
There's not gonna be an.
Clean's been there quite a
If
while.
that develops commercially as it's expected to, that industrial lot, which had a vested right as an industrial lot because it was there before the development happened. And commercial, you understand, the commercial economics is that property is gonna have more value from a commercial standpoint moving forward if everything else is fully developed commercial around it. So when I say HydroClean's not gonna be there, I don't think you'll see an industrial use out there. You're gonna see other commercial uses, either restaurants, hotels, support services that's going to be there because of the magnet, which is the hockey rink. That's just
So-
my opinion.
But that's what you're making my point, Todd, so why are we changing it? That's,
So
It's
if I
already
could,
there. It's already there right now. You're not.
I
yeah,
understand that, and it's already commercial, so why are we changing it?
No, the property already is industrial right now, so we're not
I
making it
know,
any
but if you're
bigger.
telling me it's probably gonna go away in future use, then why change this one to I-1? You're making my argument for me, that's what I'm saying.
I'm looking
I
at it
just don't-
I'm looking at it from an aggregate standpoint. We're not changing the land volume. There's still the same amount of industrial zones there that is today.
and the ice arena was cited, knowing that industrial was there. Now, yes, by this reconfiguration, it does become closer, but the industrial district also has greater setbacks, and then also, like I said, it is on the backside. And there's no, like, it exists there today, and if two property owners can work out an agreement where somebody can better utilize their property because that foundation was existing, I think that's a benefit.
So what you're guaranteeing me is that the Allstate or the Peterbilt place is going to for surely change that zoning to C1
C3.
or C3.
And I can't guarantee that,
Okay, so we may get more industrial.
but it's going to be held in an easement regardless. So if it's conveyed, like Kurt said, but this is where there's so many possibilities where the fact though about it is regardless, it's not going to be developed because it's used for access. And if it is conveyed, they will have to rezone it to C3, even though it will continue in an easement.
Okay, now I see what you're saying, we're not gaining any more I-1, but if that doesn't change, then we are indeed gaining more industrial.
I mean, that property is going to stay I-1 until you see more commercial development happen out there. And so, I mean, I'm much more concerned about the gravel pit that's across the street the other way, okay? So, I mean, I'm not concerned about it, but, I mean, if you want to talk about something that's going to have more of a negative impact on development out there commercially, is looking outdoors at a gravel pit all the time, but that's.
I'm fine if it goes to C1 with the Peterbilt. That's cool. Or
C3.
it stays, or C3, I keep saying C1. Or it stays, like I said, just with the easement and stays in his name. So,
Yeah, ultimately, I think it's a net equal here from my perspective. And over the long period of time, yeah, I don't agree long-term that we're going to have I-1 use out there forever. But at least allowing him to continue his industrial use that is already present with no real net change to the amount of industrial use. Any additional comments from the board? All right, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote.
All right, Spire,
No.
Dargis Johnson,
pass.
Ford,
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Brink,
Yes.
Aletsky,
Yes.
Kays,
Yes.
and Dargis Johnson.
It's going to pass anyway, correct?
Yes.
No.
5 yes, 2 no, that motion will carry. That will move forward to city council with recommendation from the board.
Sounds good.
We'll move on to item 7, open public comments. I don't think we have anybody here to speak.
No,
We'll move on to new business. Any new business from staff?
none that I have, other than that we're working on the recodification of the ordinance and are taking your comments that we talked about last
Okay.
meeting into consideration. I haven't drafted in there actually because I think they'll work out well. And along with many other proposals, which will all be coming to you guys.
Sounds great.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I was wondering if the mayor would come up and answer a question. It's not a hard one. But I just happened to, I caught the city council meeting the other night,
Oh, yes.
and I got sucked in at 11 o'clock. Next thing I knew, it was 1 o'clock in the morning when I was listening to it, but you had
Really,
made.
people fall asleep before that happens.
Oh, it was enlightening. But you had made a comment at the beginning of that meeting that it's in your intent to bring the city council and the planning commission together to do some joint planning on that. And I was just wondering if you had any more information, maybe for those of us that didn't get to see that.
My intent was, okay, so we've had a lot of discussion on the commercial lake zoning, as have you, and questions persist out there in the community. And what I would like to do is go through all of the ideas that we have heard and just see if we can morph that into the current zoning to appease the people that are uncomfortable with CL as it currently is. I think that we've made some good steps on what we have already passed, and I thank you for all the work that you've done on that. We are definitely improving the CL, but to get it to a point where it's not automatically a negative in the minds of people, which I think a lot of people do look at it. Whenever CL is proposed, they always fear what could possibly be there. And I think that we just need to appease and address some of those fears and come up with an ordinance that the community can accept and embrace and move forward with. And that was my intent. And I would rather have you with us working together and hearing your ideas at the same time as we're hearing our own. So that was my intent. So my hope would be is maybe on a day where you have a very light schedule, is we could maybe find time to just have the joint session at that point. And my idea would also be to have any possible amendment emailed ahead of time so that we all have access to it, so that we can all consider it. And not necessarily limit discussion, but we've all been through this before multiple times. And I think that we all have our own ideas formed, and it would just be to bring it forward and see where the will is among the Plan Commission and the City Council as to what could pass.
Sounds good.
So, thank you. I didn't mean to spring that on you. I really should have ran it by you, but we were considering a couple different things, and with that hearing on Monday night, I knew that there was going to be a lot of questions with CL, and I knew that this would go a long way in maybe calming some of the fears on that.
Yeah, I think it was anticipated that we're going to have more discussions coming. So.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on to any old business. Brandy, anything from staff?
None that I have.
Anything from the board? Any reason for executive session?
Nope.
I will adjourn us. Thank you all.